The chamber of the Galactic Council was filled with light and sound. Massive screens floated in the air, showing worlds across the galaxy, each glowing like a jewel against the black sea of space. Delegates from hundreds of alien species gathered inside the hall, their voices mixing into a storm of whispers, laughter, and sharp words. The subject today was humanity. Humans were young compared to most species of the Council. They had joined late, their homeworld still rough and scarred by wars, but their ships were spreading faster than anyone expected. In only a few centuries, humans had gone from crawling on their planet to building colonies on distant stars. Many alien empires had taken notice. Some were curious, some were afraid, and many were amused. One tall, insect-like delegate clicked its mandibles together, its words echoing through the chamber. Humans. They have a strange habit. Every time conflict rises, they say, "Don't make us angry." The council burst into laughter. Beings with scales, fur, shells, and feathers all joined in. Some pounded the table, others let out high-pitched screeches of amusement. Another delegate, with shimmering blue skin, raised a hand. "Yes, I have heard this too. The humans use it as if it is a weapon by itself. Please do not push us." Such drama. Such weakness disguised as strength. Laughter shook the room again. But not every species was laughing. In the far corner of the council chamber, a representative from the Kalari, a quiet and secretive reptilian race, remained silent. Their eyes were large, golden, and unblinking, and their clawed fingers tapped the table slowly. They remembered something the others did not. Long ago, before humans joined the council, the Kalari had seen what happened when a small empire pushed humanity too far. At first, humans had been patient. They spoke calmly. They asked for peace. They repeated their warning, "Do not make us angry." But then, something changed. The Kalari knew the story well. A human fleet had been cornered, their colonies attacked. The enemy thought humans weak, thought they would beg for survival. But humans did not beg. They snapped. And when they snapped, they fought with a fire no one in the stars had ever seen. The Kalari had watched those battles. Entire systems burned. A powerful empire that once mocked humanity was wiped from history. Even now, no one spoke of them, because there was nothing left to speak of. The Kalari delegate finally rose, their voice cold and sharp, cutting through the laughter. "You mock the humans because you do not understand them. You think their warning is a joke. It is not. It is the only mercy they give." The room grew quiet. Some delegates shifted uncomfortably. Others hissed in annoyance. The insectoid delegate clicked again. "Are you saying humans are dangerous? That they can destroy the great powers of the galaxy? Absurd. Their fleets are small. Their weapons are crude. Their colonies are fragile." The Kalari's golden eyes narrowed. "You think so because you measure strength only in ships and weapons. You do not see the other strength. The hidden one. The humans have survived things that would break your kind in a heartbeat. Wars that lasted generations. Diseases that wiped out millions. Disasters that turned whole lands to ash. And yet, they endured. They always endure. And when pushed beyond their limits, they do not simply fight. They become something else. Something the galaxy is not ready to face." For a moment, silence filled the chamber. Then the laughter began again. Louder this time. The council mocked the Kalari, waving claws and tendrils in the air. Old myths. Stories to frighten hatchlings. Humans are children playing at war. The Kalari sat back down, their voice low but heavy with warning. If the universe knew what was coming, it would never ignore their words. "Do not make us angry. That is not a threat. It is a promise." The scene shifted as reports from human colonies came onto the screens. Expansion, mining, trade. Humans were spreading quickly, faster than the council expected. Some members whispered about controlling them, limiting their growth, perhaps even forcing them to obey. The humans, of course, had noticed this talk. They knew the galaxy laughed at them. And yet, they continued with their strange warning. Everywhere they went, every treaty they signed, every meeting they joined, their message was the same. We wish for peace. But do not push us. The galaxy thought it was weakness. The Kalari knew it was the sound of a storm waiting to break. But storms do not wait forever. And far away, in a dark corner of space, another empire was preparing to test the humans. They did not believe the warning. They thought humanity could be broken, controlled, erased. They were about to learn how wrong they were. And the galaxy, still laughing, was about to realize the truth. Too late. The Galactic Council meeting ended, but the laughter still echoed in the minds of many delegates. For them, the warning of the humans was nothing more than a small curiosity, something to be mocked over drinks and whispered in corridors. But beyond the safety of the council halls, far out in the black, one empire was already putting those words to the test. The Draxian Dominion had grown arrogant over the centuries. Their fleets were sharp and disciplined, their soldiers bred for war. They saw the humans as intruders spreading too quickly across the stars. In their eyes, a younger species should never rise so fast without permission. The Draxians decided it was time to remind humanity of their place. It began with small attacks. A few mining outposts destroyed. Freighters burned in the void. Whole colonies left in silence, their people missing, their signals gone. To the rest of the galaxy, these were small events, barely worth a report. But to the humans, they were acts of war. The humans, however, did not rush into battle. They did not scream for vengeance, nor did they send massive fleets in retaliation. Instead, they responded with words, simple words that repeated across every channel, every frequency the Draxians could hear. We want peace. Do not push us. The Draxians laughed. They believed this was proof of weakness. They thought the humans were afraid. They thought these warnings were begging. But not all who listened believed that. Among the Kalari, the old memories stirred again. Their delegate, who had warned the council, now sent urgent messages to their leaders. The humans are holding back. They are waiting. If the Draxians keep pushing, something will break. Back in human space, the mood was heavy. Families were being lost. Ships were vanishing. The Draxians were pushing harder every day, and yet humanity did not unleash its fury. The galaxy whispered that perhaps the humans were cowards after all. But inside the hidden chambers of Earth's military command, the truth was different. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not afraid. They were patient. They were preparing. The human fleet gathered in silence, far from the eyes of the council. Commanders studied maps of the stars, tracing routes into Draxian space. Their voices were low but steady. They believe we will not strike back. They think our warning is a bluff. They will learn. Still, the leaders gave one final order. Messages were sent again, across every channel, every star where Draxians could hear them. Do not make us angry. Do not force us to show you what that means. But the Draxians did not listen. They launched one more assault, greater than before. This time, a human colony of thousands was destroyed, its cities turned to ash, its survivors scattered or enslaved. And at last, the humans stopped sending warnings. In the silence that followed, the galaxy began to feel something it had not felt before, unease. The laughter faded. The whispers grew quiet. The Kalari delegates' golden eyes shone with grim certainty. The storm was coming. And when it arrived, no one would be ready. The night sky above the ruined human colony still glowed with fire. Broken ships drifted in orbit, their hulls torn apart, their lights gone cold. For the Draxians, it was a victory to celebrate. Their commanders broadcast messages across the stars, declaring the humans weak and broken, nothing more than frightened children hiding behind empty words. But far from the burning colony, deep within a hidden sector of human space, silence ruled. Massive warships hung in the void, dark and waiting. Their engines slept, their weapons were powered down, but every system was ready to awaken at a single command. Inside the largest vessel, the council of human admirals gathered around a glowing table. No one laughed. No one spoke loudly. Their voices were calm, but beneath the calm was steel. They pushed us too far. They ignored every warning. They think we are broken. A long pause followed. Finally, the oldest admiral leaned forward, his hand resting on the table as stars flickered in the hologram. Then it is time they learn. The order was given. Across the silent fleet, lights came alive. Engines roared, weapons charged, shields hummed into being. The black of space filled with the glow of human warships awakening from their long patience. What the galaxy had mistaken for weakness was now revealed as control. Control so precise that the strike would fall like thunder. The Draxians were the first to notice the change. Their border patrols vanished. Outposts went dark. One by one, entire garrisons fell silent. At first, the Draxian commanders laughed, thinking the humans had sent raiders. But then entire fleets went missing. Whole star systems lost contact. The humans did not broadcast their victories. They did not boast. They advanced with quiet precision, moving like hunters in the dark. Every world the Draxians had taken from them was reclaimed, but this time, nothing was left behind for the enemy. And when the Draxians finally gathered their main fleet, the humans struck with fury. The battle was not like the Council imagined. It was not chaos, not desperation. It was cold, relentless destruction. Human ships fought as if every shot carried the weight of history. Draxian vessels burned in silence, their commanders screaming into dead channels. The humans did not stop, did not retreat, did not hesitate. For the first time in centuries, the Draxians felt fear. Whispers spread across the galaxy. Reports of Draxian fleets falling, their strongholds erased, reached the council chambers. The laughter that once filled the hall was gone now, replaced with nervous silence. Delegates looked at one another with wide eyes. The Kalari spoke no words of triumph. They only watched, their golden eyes reflecting the truth they had warned of. Humanity had stopped asking. Humanity had stopped warning. And the storm had finally broken. The news reached the Galactic Council faster than anyone expected. Systems once thought secure were now silent. Entire Draxian fleets that had stood undefeated for centuries were gone, erased in a matter of days. The reports were simple, almost frighteningly simple. No survivors. No signals. Nothing left. In the council chamber, the delegates no longer laughed. Their voices were hushed, their tones uncertain. The insectoid delegate who once mocked humanity tapped its claws nervously against the table, the sound sharp and hollow. The shimmering-skinned alien who had joked about human warnings now sat pale, their throat pulsing with unease. The Kalari delegate did not gloat. They only repeated their old words, quiet and steady. I told you. Their warning is not weakness. It is the last chance they give. After that, there is only fire. The council struggled to believe it. How could humans, so young, so small compared to the great empires, bring down the mighty Draxian dominion? Some whispered of secret allies. Some claimed humans had stolen ancient technology. But those who had seen the battles firsthand knew the truth. The humans were not winning because of greater weapons. They were winning because of how they fought. In Draxian territory, the war grew darker. The humans did not simply push the Draxians back. They advanced with a calm, terrifying certainty. They dismantled outposts with surgical strikes. They cut off supply lines with traps that seemed to predict every move. They fought as though every soldier, every ship, carried not just orders but vengeance carved into their very being. The Draxians, once proud, began to beg the council for aid. Their messages were filled with panic. The humans are monsters. They will not stop. They do not fear death. But the council hesitated. Many remembered the laughter, the arrogance, the dismissal of humanity's warnings. To interfere now meant facing a storm that even the Draxians could not contain. Still, fear spread among the stars. Trade routes grew quiet. Neutral colonies locked their gates. Even powerful empires avoided human space, unwilling to test the fury that now burned across it. Yet through it all, the humans remained silent. They sent no declarations, no grand speeches, no promises of conquest. Only the quiet, relentless advance of their fleets told the story. And that silence was worse than words. Because silence meant there would be no mercy. Because silence meant the humans were not simply fighting the Draxians. They were teaching the entire galaxy a lesson. On every world where alien eyes watched, questions rose like shadows. How could the humans fight like this? How could a young species, with fleets smaller and weapons less advanced, bring a mighty empire to its knees? The galaxy searched for answers, but the truth was not in their stars, it was buried deep in the history of Earth. Humans were forged in struggle. Long before they reached the skies, they had survived wars that scarred entire continents. They had faced plagues that killed millions, disasters that shattered cities, famines that lasted years. Each time, they endured. Each time, they rebuilt. Their history was not a tale of peace and comfort. It was a tale of fire, blood, and survival against odds that should have destroyed them. The galaxy's oldest species had never known such trials. They were born into empires already secure, their homeworlds rich and steady. To them, war was rare, famine was distant, and disasters were things of the past. They could not imagine living in a world where survival itself was a daily battle. But humans were born in such a world. And it shaped them into something the galaxy did not understand. Reports from the front lines whispered of human soldiers fighting long after their ships were destroyed, fighting even when wounded, fighting with weapons taken from their enemies when their own were gone. They did not surrender. They did not stop. They fought as if death itself was only another obstacle to overcome. An old Kalari scholar tried to explain it to the council. Humans carry scars in their blood. Every war on their homeworld, every storm, every hunger, every disaster has burned itself into their spirit. You think they fight for conquest? No. They fight because they have always fought, because it is part of them. You cannot scare them with death. Death has walked beside them since the beginning. Still, many did not believe. They told themselves the Draxians were weak, that humanity's victory was luck, nothing more. But in quiet corners of the galaxy, others began to understand. They remembered the warnings. They remembered the words. Do not make us angry. Now those words no longer sounded like weakness. They sounded like the truth of a species forged in endless survival. The humans did not want war. But when forced into it, they became the very thing the galaxy feared most, a people who could not be broken. And the Draxians, once so proud, were discovering that truth every single day, in fire and in blood. In the council chambers, the air was thick with unease. Delegates who once mocked humanity now whispered in tight groups, their voices low, their eyes darting nervously toward the star maps projected above them. Those maps told a story no one could ignore, Draxian territory shrinking, system by system, world by world, until the once great empire looked like little more than a broken shadow. And the humans were still advancing. Some empires urged caution. We should reach out, one delegate said, their many eyes blinking rapidly. Perhaps if we show respect, the humans will stop. They may only want justice. Others disagreed. No, another hissed, barbed spines rattling along its back. If we bow to them now, we admit weakness. The humans will see us as prey. We must prepare fleets. We must be ready to resist. The chamber grew divided. Fear had a way of twisting every word. Every rumor from human space felt heavier than the last. Some claimed humans had discovered ancient weapons, others whispered they were no longer flesh at all but machines wrapped in skin. None of it was true, but fear cared little for truth. Meanwhile, in neutral systems across the galaxy, merchants and wanderers carried new stories. They told of human fleets that moved like hunters, of soldiers who fought without rest, of worlds that resisted them once and were never heard from again. The words spread faster than ships. And in every spaceport, every market, one phrase repeated again and again, spoken in hushed tones. They warned us. On distant human colonies, the people did not celebrate. They did not cheer for victory. They grieved their dead and rebuilt their homes in silence. But behind their silence was unity, and behind their unity was fury, cold and unshaken. For the first time in ages, the galaxy's oldest empires found themselves uncertain. To fight humanity was to risk ruin. To stand with them was to risk being drawn into a storm with no end. And so they debated, day after day, while the humans continued forward without pause. The Draxians screamed for aid, but fewer and fewer voices answered. Allies withdrew their promises. Old partners turned their backs. None wished to share their fate. The Kalari delegate, who had warned them all from the beginning, spoke once more, their golden eyes unblinking as silence fell across the chamber. You wonder whether to fight them or stand beside them. But you do not understand. The choice is not yours anymore. Humanity gave you the choice long ago, when they said, "Do not push us." You refused to listen. And now, you will live with what follows. The words hung heavy in the air. Even the boldest voices found no reply. Because deep down, every species knew the truth. Humanity was not seeking allies, and they were not asking for enemies. Humanity was simply moving forward, and nothing in the galaxy could stop them now. The galaxy could not remain frozen in fear forever. Whispers became plans, and plans turned into fleets. Old rivals set aside centuries of hatred. Ancient empires that had not spoken in ages sent envoys to one another. Their message was simple: if humanity was not stopped now, nothing would remain to stop them later. Ships were gathered from a dozen species. Armadas formed in secret, then in open declaration. The council chamber filled with fiery speeches, not of laughter anymore, but of resolve. The insectoid delegate, once smug, now struck the table with its claws. We waited too long. The Draxians are almost gone. If we do not stand together, we will all share their fate. For the first time in history, the galaxy united not against each other, but against a single species, humanity. When the fleets moved, the stars themselves seemed to shift. Carriers larger than cities, cruisers bristling with weapons, swarms of strike craft, all poured into the contested sectors. To the untrained eye, it was unstoppable. It was the greatest force ever assembled in the history of the Council. But humanity was watching. On their command ships, human officers studied the incoming fleets with calm eyes. No panic, no fear. Their voices remained low, measured. They will come at us from all sides. They think numbers will break us. They do not understand. The battle began on the edge of a shattered system, where the wreckage of Draxian colonies still drifted in silence. The united fleets expected to crush the humans in a single strike. They expected desperation, chaos, collapse. What they found was precision. Human ships moved like they had trained for this very moment, every maneuver a trap, every retreat a lure. Smaller human vessels darted into the chaos, crippling massive warships with surgical strikes. Entire wings of alien craft were drawn into minefields they never saw until it was too late. The galaxy's great armada had numbers, but humanity had something far sharper. Every strategy came from a species that had known endless war on their own world, where survival meant outthinking an enemy who always wanted you dead. Humans fought not as though the battle had just begun, but as though they had already lived through it 1,000 times. In the council chamber, reports arrived one after another. Whole fleets annihilated. Commanders lost. Worlds falling silent. The delegates who once promised victory now stared at the screens in silence, their bodies tense with dread. The Kalari delegate spoke again, their voice steady but heavy. It is too late. You do not understand. You never did. Humanity does not fight battles. Humanity fights wars. And wars are the ground they were born from. Across the stars, the armada shattered. The unity of the galaxy broke under fire and fear. Some tried to flee, others begged for mercy. But the humans offered none. They advanced like the storm that had been promised, and the lesson was written in fire across every world that dared to stand against them. The universe had united to break humanity. Instead, it was the universe that was breaking. The war ended not with celebration, but with silence. Across the stars, the fleets that had once stood proud were nothing but wreckage drifting in the void. Whole systems that had joined the Great Alliance were left scarred, their defenses shattered, their banners burned away. The galaxy had gathered its strength to break humanity, and instead, it was humanity that stood unbroken. In the council chambers, the delegates sat in heavy stillness. No one mocked now. No one laughed. The insectoid delegate who once sneered at humanity's warnings no longer raised its claws. The shimmering-skinned speaker who once called them dramatic kept its eyes fixed on the floor. All the proud voices that had once filled the hall were gone, replaced by the weight of a truth they could no longer deny. The Kalari rose slowly, their golden eyes sweeping across the chamber. Their words carried no triumph, only the finality of a truth spoken too late. You never listened. They asked for peace. They begged you not to push them. And you laughed. You thought their words weakness. But their warning was the last kindness they had to give. Far away, in human space, the people rebuilt in silence. Cities scarred by fire rose again. Colonies that had been abandoned filled with new life. The fleets returned not to parades but to grieving families, to names carved into stone, to reminders of the cost of war. Humanity did not celebrate their victory, for to them, there was no victory. Only survival, only the bitter truth that they had been forced to become what they always feared. And yet, the galaxy watched them with trembling respect. For even in the wake of their fury, the humans did not spread further. They did not conquer the defeated empires. They did not claim the worlds they had shattered. They simply rebuilt their own and left the ruins behind. It was then the other species finally understood. Humanity had never wanted war. They had never desired conquest. Their warning, "Do not make us angry," was not pride. It was mercy. It was a plea born from the knowledge of what they would become if forced to fight. But the universe had ignored that mercy. And now, burned into the memory of every empire, every colony, every council chamber, was the lesson too late learned. When humans say, "Please don't push us," it is not a bluff. It is the last chance anyone will ever have.